Welcome to Property Showcase, the podcast that brings you closer to the service providers that can inform your decisions about how you buy, manage and research top investment opportunities. Be informed and become a better investor with Property Showcase.
Hello everyone, Grace Ormsby here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Property Showcase, as it said in the intro. Making sure investors are better informed. Today's episode is a very, very exciting one. We are hearing from someone who some of you may have heard before if you've been listening to the back catalogue lately, or you probably heard him back in February 2024. The episode then was titled Building Stability Through Asset Selection. It is an absolute pleasure to be chatting in the studio today with Tim Watson. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Grace. Great to be back.
You are operating out of InvestorKit.
Absolutely. I'm now very happy to say I'm a buyer's agent for InvestorKit.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. Loving every minute.
How is working with Arjun?
Oh, Arjun is amazing. Anyone that's ever met Arjun or listened to Arjun knows what a wonderful guy he is. It's fantastic to be part of his team. You've
got your own property portfolio, as we have unpacked on a previous episode of the Smart Property Investment Show. But it is cool to be able to chat with you on some of the lessons learned, the things that you've picked up over the years. And I'm sure it was something that, what we're talking about today, I'm sure it was something that was already kind of in your mind before jumping onto the InvestorKit team. But
yeah, absolutely.
The team, having a team is important.
Absolutely crucial. Having the right team around you to maximise your chance of success, I cannot tell you how much you just really can't underestimate the importance of it.
And even sort of going back to your track record of investing, did you start out with a team?
No, and I think anyone that listened to the last episode, one of the things they will have taken away was I actually started, in my opinion, far too late. It took me too long to build my team. And, that in itself actually has in some respects delayed that investment journey that I've been on. But it's something I've learned along the way, is how important it is to surround yourself with good people.
And luckily, it is one of those things that you can pretty much rectify straight away. Anyone who is listening along that feels like maybe their property investment choices haven't been the right decisions to make, maybe they've felt hampered by what's going on in the finance arena. There's so many aspects to property investing. But to you, building out that team, what makes that so important? What is the difference that it can actually provide people?
Yeah, so look, I think let's start with the end in mind. People are investing in property because they want to build wealth and equally avoid mistakes along the way. And I've certainly made some of those mistakes along the way. And I think it's just crucial if you surround yourself with the right team, they can give you the advice that's going to help you avoid those mistakes and ultimately build wealth through property investment.
And it's one of those things where while we talk to people day in and day out and we hear about their mistakes, no one wants to be the one that is sitting there making those mistakes.
No, and look, personally, my first investment was the wrong one. And it took me a little while to realise that and then learn from it. I think if you can surround yourself with the right people right from the start, it avoids the chance of that happening. And that the reality is, and I can't remember the exact stats, but the vast majority of investors only ever make it to one property. I think if you surround yourself with the right people, you really increase your chance of being able to go well beyond that, first property and build a scalable portfolio.
So talk us through then, Tim, what makes up a great team? There's got to be aspects there. It's not just a one-size-fits-all even, and it's not just a one-person, one-man band.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm going to focus in on 4 key people, and then if we've got time, I'll just elaborate a little bit more about some of the other people that are important on the journey. So firstly, having a buyer's agent is going to be one person that actually works on your behalf. A buyer's agent is exactly what it says. They are working on behalf of the buyer. So everything around sourcing the right property, all the negotiation, essentially an end-to-end service to make sure the buyer gets the best deal that they can. So that's crucial. Having the right accountant makes sure that you are actually structuring, essentially the purchase of that property in the right way. Equally, having a mortgage broker is going to get you the best deal when it comes to the mortgages. And let's face it, that's pretty important these days, given where they've gone.
Yeah, given just the environment that we're operating in as well.
Absolutely. And I think from an interest rate perspective, there's still a little bit of uncertainty out there. I think we were hoping we're going to get a cut this year. It's now looking like, if anything, it's probably going to stay the same, could even potentially increase. So, mortgage broker is crucial. Mm-hmm. And then finally, the idea of using a financial advisor to build a longer term plan that's ultimately going to help you get to retirement. So those are the 4 cornerstones. I think it's really worth considering.
Okay, so anyone who is listening along, have a look or have a think about who is in your corner, who you've got in your team, what elements could you be adding, or I guess it's probably worth Tim going through each of these in a little bit more detail so that people can say, oh, that's why you have that person. That's why it's worth employing that person to, act on my behalf.
Yes. And let's start with the buyer's agent. And look, I can speak personally about the impact I think a good buyer's agent can have on growing someone's portfolio. For me, it took me far too long to actually invest. I certainly suffered from analysis paralysis. I was always trying to find that perfect property. And it was only when I actually brought a buyer's agent in that gave me that different perspective, but also who had access to a whole lot of properties I'd never have even considered, that I really started to build my portfolio. So I think if you're wondering why is a buyer's agent important, first and foremost, they should be starting with what your personal goals are and helping you to build a long-term strategic plan. That's got to be the framework that we start with. Secondly, as I mentioned, you can get very stuck with analysis paralysis. And let's face it, there's thousands of different areas, markets that we could invest in here within Australia. A lot of people invest in their backyard. What a buyer's agent's going to do is they're going to have access nationally to all the different markets that it's there to potentially play in. And the whole goal here is that you're outperforming the national market. So a good buyer's agent is going to have a research team that is looking at all the different markets out there, which ones are most likely to outperform. And, at InvestorKit, we look at a whole variety of different metrics. We look at what migration's going into an area, what sort of building approvals are taking place, what's the rental market like and the pressure there. And you need to look at all these different data points to really get a good feel for the right market to invest in. And that needs to be tailored to an individual's goals.
It's a confidence boost, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think having the right person on your side that's going to open your eyes to where you can invest across the whole of Australia is a very, very different approach from trying to do it in your own backyard.
Yeah. And just as you said, the research that needs to go into this, who has the time?
No, and that was my biggest problem. I was in a busy role. It took me 5 years after buying the permanent place of residence to actually buy an investment property. I bought a unit, which, I think, as per the last episode, wasn't the best investment. And it then took me another 4 years to actually buy again. All of that, imagine the lost growth and lost equity.
Hindsight.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Is a wonderful thing. Well, that's one of 4 of the main core building blocks.
Correct. And just to build on, it's not only about finding the right market to invest in, but a good buyer's agent is also going to have the contacts with the real estate agents there. Off-market is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but a true off-market is one that only, in our case, InvestorKit knows about.
Yeah.
No other buyer's agents know about it. And it's not advertised. That's where you then have the ability to negotiate more strongly, because if most people know about it and it's got more people that are keen to buy it, obviously it's more likely the prices are going to go up there. So it's about identifying the right market, buying at the best price you can, and having an off-market certainly helps to achieve that. And then finally, look, at InvestorKit, what we do is the service is end-to-end. We will not only start and build your plan, we will do all the way right through to negotiation, building in pest, etc., until we can actually find the right property manager to also find you the right tenant.
Which in itself is 3-4 different team members, really,
yes.
that come out of one service.
Yeah. Correct. And look, the reason we bought our unit in the Gold Coast is because we've been there. Never actually saw the unit before I bought it, but at least I knew the area. For any other investor that's considering buying interstate, I mean, the reality is most people aren't going to jump on a plane to go and see every property they're considering. So this is where having the contacts as a buyer's agent is absolutely crucial.
There you go. Well, I mean, do you need anyone else then when you've got such a good person in your corner from the buyer's agent perspective? But it is only one of a whole ecosystem, really, of people that can be helping.
It is
with the buying journey.
Yeah, and what I'd like to say is, if anyone wants to contact me, then I'm very happy to pick up the phone. Obviously, just answer any questions that anyone has. They can contact me at timbuyeragent.com.au, or they can send me an email at tim.watson@investorkit.com.au.
Awesome. We're going to include those details in the blurb. So if you've missed that and you don't want to rewind a little bit and take that down, just take a look at the bottom of this podcast episode and you're going to find it there too. But that's through the buyer's agent, one of 4 main ones. And then we've still got a multitude of other people out there that can be assistants in the team. Tim, accountants, they're another big part.
An accountant really plays a crucial role here, because when you're purchasing your investment property right from the first one onwards, you need to make sure it's in the right structure. So whether it's in your own name, whether it's in a trust, whether it's in your self-managed super fund, there's all different pros and cons of investing in these different structures. And that in itself is a crucial reason why you need to get an accountant on board, because depending on your own personal financial situation, they'll be able to give you the guidance, and also depending on which state you're considering buying in, they'll be able to give you the best guidance as to what is the right sort of format to invest within.
That almost, we said confidence for buyer's agent, but it feels like the accountant provides that stability, that underlying stability and security around what you're doing is going to work.
Absolutely, because it's one thing to find the right property, but you then need to make sure that the asset is in the right, it's bought in the right way and the right structure. And if you get that wrong, it can be a very, very costly exercise. So my advice to anyone considering investing, whether you're using a buyer's agent or doing it yourself, is make sure you get advice from an accountant, because it can save you thousands and thousands of dollars over the long term. And even things like different land tax implications, depending on which structure you purchase within, that in itself is a crucial area that an accountant's going to be able to give you advice on.
And an ongoing investment, really, rather than just thinking of it as a one-off hit each time you maybe buy or at the end of tax time.
Correct.
That's probably not when you're going to get the most value out of these people.
No, and look, you have to also think about, for someone who's got a more scalable portfolio or more properties within the portfolio, you might need to set up multiple trusts. You might be able to have one trust where multiple properties sit within it. This is where the accountant's going to give you that guidance. Another key area is all around depreciation benefits of your property. The depreciation schedule can save you thousands and thousands of dollars over the life of managing that property. And so an accountant's going to be able to tell you, depending on how old your property is, what can and what can't be claimed. So any sort of accounting costs that you're going to incur are going to be, won back many, many times over with the right advice.
Well, we've ticked off confidence and we've ticked off having stability and security of what the structures actually look like. But obviously, when most people go to buy a property, they need to be looking at finance options.
Correct. So the other key player here, your mortgage broker. It's interesting how mortgage brokers have evolved. I mean, I think, tell me if this is incorrect, but I think it's now over 70% of mortgages are done through a broker.
I think they even hit 80% at one point earlier this year.
Crazy.
Unsurprising, though, given the benefits they're providing people.
Absolutely. And I think it's testament that is the percentage that mortgage brokers now sort of own of the mortgages that are written out there. And there's very good reason. Firstly, look, a lot of people do just tend to go to their bank. I know I did. I went to the bank that I'd been using for years and they sorted out my mortgage. A mortgage broker has access to so many different lenders that are going to open up different options for different people depending on where you are at financially. So there are certainly lenders out there that, unlike the big banks, will consider lending to you. And so, if for anyone that thinks either they haven't got the money to invest or they can't get a loan, it's definitely worth talking to a mortgage broker to really understand what different loans are out there. You don't pay for a mortgage broker service. Essentially, they get paid from the company that's writing the loan. So there's no cost to you. So there is absolutely nothing lost in just going out and finding a good mortgage broker. And obviously, they're going to try and make sure that they fit the right loan to you, depending on the characteristics of the loan, whether it's got an offset, other different characteristics. And the rate isn't always what you should focus on. Most people obviously want the lowest rate, but it's not always what you actually need to help sustain the growth of your portfolio. So a mortgage broker is going to give you all the advice you need there.
So many people, just picking up on that point you said about it being no cost, they don't realise it's essentially free service.
It's a free service with someone who's got these fantastic established relationships with all the different lenders, and they're saving you time.
Yeah.
I don't know if how many loans you've tried to.
I've attempted a few.
They're a nightmare.
They are a nightmare.
So just the fact alone that they're gonna simplify the application process. They're gonna find the right loan for you. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a good mortgage broker on your side.
So we've knocked 3 out now. We've got the buyer's agent, we've got the accountant, and we've got the mortgage broker. There was one more.
Financial advisor.
Financial advisor.
And look, some people might think that a financial advisor's, more about your retirement planning. And there's some truth to that. But if you, essentially a financial advisor is going to give you much broader financial advice. And that might be investing in property. It might be investing in other vehicles. But fundamentally, they're going to help you build a plan that's going to give you the best chance of maximising your wealth over the long term. So I think it's just another important person to have on your team that if you want to build a long-term plan, if you want to retire early, and I don't know about you, but I certainly wanted to retire as early as I could, then it's worth considering what a financial advisor can do for you.
How does it work from your perspective, Tim, from the buyer's agency angle? How do you work with all these other team members? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question, Grace. So I have built up my own partnership network of people that I would consider experts in their field. And do I need to go again?
No, all good.
So I've built experts across all of these different key team members. And the reason is every now and again I will get a client who comes forward who's maybe starting their journey. And one of their questions is, how can I build the team that I need? And so it's important that when they need the right accountant, the right mortgage broker, the right financial advisor, that I can point them in the right direction of someone that I trust and that I know is going to do the right thing by them. And as we said right from the start, this is all about maximising your wealth over the long term. And what that does for people is it then gives them the choice of how they want to spend their time. Do they want to retire early? Some people like working and will keep on working, but you can at least choose a career that most interests you. Some people want to play golf. The key point of all of this in building your team is it gives you your time back.
And there's 4 core members of the team there.
4 core
but
members.
You did allude to the fact that there are a few other people that if people really want to be on the front foot with this kind of thing, they should have a look at inviting into their circle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is all about how can you get the most out of an investment property purchase. And so there's a number of other key members that I certainly work with along the journey. So as I mentioned, it's right from start to finish, the service that we provide. Having the right solicitor is crucial.
Makes sense.
They're going to review the contracts. They're going to make sure there's nothing dodgy in there and, that you know exactly what you're getting when you sign that contract. They're going to manage things like, ultimately they're going to make that purchase as safe as it can from a legal perspective.
Solicitors? Who else?
Quantity surveyor. So we talked a little bit about depreciation schedules. My advice to anyone out there that does have an investment property is if you haven't got a depreciation schedule, you need to contact a quantity surveyor to find out whether or not one's appropriate for the property you've got. And I would be gobsmacked if for the amount that you pay for that depreciation schedule, it's likely that you'll get the money back many, many times over for what you can save in depreciation.
Yeah, for sure. Just thinking about these people, anyone who has bought a property has probably employed these service providers.
Yep.
And they're probably going a bit ad hoc. They're not really thinking about actually bringing them into the circle so that they can be used time and time again.
Correct.
Once you know someone and you trust someone, keep using them.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's very true. If you find someone that you trust, and I think we're talking about all these key members, you've got to make sure that the person is the right fit, personality-wise. They've got to be someone that you can trust. And, if you can find that right person, then they're going to be great additions to your team.
Yeah, cool. Anyone else that we should think about while we're...
Final two that I will point out. So building and pest inspectors. You don't want to buy a property that's got a termite nest
You do not.
hidden within it. So, again, the money spent on just getting a decent building and pest inspection so you know exactly what you're buying is important. We certainly use building and pest inspections to also negotiate the final price of a property depending on work that needs to be done. And, again, that can be used differently in different states. And then finally, property manager. So it's one thing to buy the place, it's then another thing to manage it. So I would certainly say that the property managers I've got within my portfolio are worth their weight in gold. They manage finding the right tenant. They manage any request that the tenant has or any work that needs to be done to the property. If you find the right property manager, again, it's going to save you time, but it's also going to, I think, get the best out of your investment.
And they are so valuable. The things that they can do.
Crucial.
Don't put that to the wayside as someone that shouldn't be part of your team.
Absolutely. I think, that they are integral, absolutely integral to being able to manage a rental property. And finding the right tenant itself, again, if you're buying interstate, you don't have the time to go and do all of this.
No.
So it's crucial that you find the right person to manage it all.
And I guess from the other end as well, I do work with a lot of people in the real estate space too. So It probably comes across as quite biased, but consider them as part of your team. Don't just think of them as someone that's going to pick up the slack once all the rest of this is said and done. Yeah.
And I think an important part of all of this is treat people as you'd like to be treated. Property managers are out there doing the job, and I think it's a tough job at times, managing not only owners but also the renters themselves. So treat them nicely. Building good relationships with your team, I think, will go a long, long, long way.
So there's really 8 people in this team. You basically got a basketball team there.
I know, and look, I think this is the beauty of the job that I do is I know many of these different partners that we have to use. And so, as I said, if anyone wants to reach out and talk about their investment journey or talk about how I can help them with InvestorKit behind me, then please contact me either by going into setting up a calendar appointment in Tim Buyer's Agent. Actually, can I redo
go
that
again?
One? So if anyone wants to contact me, they can contact me at timbuyeragent.com.au or send me an email at tim.watson@investorkit.com.au. And I'd be very happy to help. Even if ultimately they don't end up using InvestorKit services, I just generally love property, love talking to people about property. And so, please feel free to contact me.
Well, Tim, I've loved chatting to you today about all the people that you need to have in your team. Go back to the beginning of this episode and listen again if you do not think that you have these people surrounding you, because this advice that you have provided today is worth its weight in gold in itself. So I hope people do reach out to you with any questions. There's probably a lot more advice that you can be giving them to on their property investment journeys down the track. So, Tim, thank you so much for the chat today. It was great.
Great to see you again, Grace.
To everyone who is listening, we hope you have enjoyed this episode. Any questions, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Until next time, stay safe and well wherever you're listening from. Bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.